Shut up and sit down.
Welcome back to another episode of the Bowhunter Chronicles podcast brought to you by Tacticam. Tacticam is the easiest way to begin filming your hunts. Whether you're using the budget-friendly Solo or the 4K Tacticam 5.0, Tacticam has something for all levels of self-filmers. Tacticam even gives you the opportunity to film through your scope if you're using a crossbow or a rifle. So you can check them out at tacticam.com. This week's episode, we're talking with our good friend, Adrian Wilson. So I literally would have had this podcast out about an hour ago, except for he called me and I was on the phone with him just talking like we were best friends for, well over an hour. So, for you guys, Jake, one of our Patreons, Jake is at work waiting for this podcast to come out, and he had to wait. So he's sitting there at work saying, "Where's the podcast?" Sorry, Jake. Adrian called. But this week we talked with Adrian Wilson. He's he's just a good dude, and he's one of these guys that you see on social media, or if you're, following around the same circles that we are, you'll see him pop up in a Catman video. You'll see him, hunting with the hunting public on the Public Land Challenge, or he pops up in one of their turkey videos, or, one of their whitetail videos down in Mississippi, and you're going, who is this guy? And he's just a school teacher from Tennessee, right? Well, we get into his story a little bit. He's an adult onset hunter who just kind of, fell into it. And then, by asking the right questions with the right people, he's fallen in with, the hunting public, as we said, Jonathan from Catman Outdoors on YouTube. And, you definitely need to check that out. And he ended up asking a whole bunch of questions with, while he was on the Saddle Hunter forum with Greg Godfrey. And so now, Adrian's always in all the tethered videos, and you'll see him pop up from time to time. But we go through that whole process and kind of, how we met and everything. And, Adrian is just a great dude. You can find him on Instagram at Big A Sports. And, he doesn't film his hunts or anything like that. He's just a super, super awesome dude. So you need to check him out. And, you heard me mention Patreon earlier. Patreon is a crowdfunding for creators. So if you like the show and you want to help out with the overhead costs like hosting or equipment or licenses or, whatever, you just want to, support the show, it means a ton to us. And it means so much to us that we don't even keep the money. We actually buy gear and give it back to our Patreons. So this quarter, we're giving away a set of beast sticks. At the bare minimum, I'm going to give away a set of helium sticks, although I'm hearing rumblings of some other stuff that may be out by then. I'll try to get my hands on to give away. But then we give away a Tacticam Solo package like you heard in the intro there. And we give away a base map package. So a base map Pro, that's what we're using this year. Base map for us going out west. There's so many different layers, and we use it so much. And one of the good things about base map is you can download your map, so you can use it offline, which you can do on some of the other ones, but you're not limited. So as much space as your phone or device has, you can make the map as big or as small and as detailed as you want to, because base map has tons and tons of extra layers on it. And that's one of the things that we really like about it. And especially for the scouting on the computer for out west, instead of bouncing back and forth from Google Earth to Gaia to, CalTopo or something like that, you can stay right on base map and flip through, all these different layers and things like that. And it's just really good. So if you haven't checked that out, you should check out base map. And if you use the code Chronicles, you have to do that online, you can get 20% off. So it ends up being like $24 for the entire country for the year. So that's definitely something that you guys should check out. And then we're also giving away monthly a subscription to the Vitals Live. And what the Vitals Live is it's like a podcast on steroids. So what you can do with that, it's a video platform. So you can sit in live with John Eberhardt, Dan Infault, Garrett Prawl, and you can check that out. And the podcast that's coming out next week will outline exactly what the Vitals Live is, and then there's a video that goes along with it that kind of shows some of the functionality of it. But we can bring you in on a video, so those really good podcasts where you're a fly on the wall and you're listening, and maybe it's just this off, or as our buddy Tom Taylor, he likes to say, he's never been wanted to be in the conversation so much, or yelling, as Nick Otto from the Huntivore just tells me, he's yelling at the his phone, he's yelling at the device. This gives you the opportunity to come on and have a voice in the conversation and ask those questions and say those things that you'd like to say. And all that is also videoed and then archived so that you can search it. So you can go into scouting, you can go to early season, you can go to weather and see how Dan and Garrett and John, how they break down in video these things. So you should definitely check that out if you get a chance. It's the vitalslive.com. You can follow them on Instagram as well. But that's pretty much all we've got for the intro on this one. Adrian's an awesome dude, Big A Sports on Instagram. While you're listening to this, go check him out, give him a follow. And I know you're going to love this one. It's another one that I was laughing and having fun while I was doing the editing, so I know you guys are going to love it. Thanks for listening. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Bowhunter Chronicles podcast. John and I are sitting here in his garage, fan going. John looks sunburned. I'm extremely hungover, and we are excited to talk to this guest. Now, he's an interesting guy. He goes by many names. You may have seen him on some YouTube videos. He's usually like a cameo, so he doesn't have his own channel. He doesn't film his hunts, but you'll see him lurking around in the Hunting Public's videos, Catman's videos, the Tethered videos. You'll see posters of him around Nashville. I think San Francisco's got posters of him. Man, this is our good buddy, Adrian Wilson. How are you doing tonight?
Guys, I'm good. Thanks for having me on. I'm ecstatic just to talk to you boys and cut up a little bit.
So you're one of those guys who, like I kind of alluded to, you're on social media, you're here and there, you always see it. And so when we walked into ATA, I'm like, hey, no kidding, there's Adrian Wilson. John's like, who's that? I'm like, he's a guy from Instagram, but he's always around the Tethered guys. And I kind of give him the backstory of like why I see your face. And he's like, he looks exactly.
I'm like, wait a minute. That's Billy Currington. What the hell?
Well, now, when we met at ATA, Adam, what I don't know if you knew this or not. I didn't want to embarrass John, but when you're introducing yourself to me, he's behind the scenes asking for an autograph, and I'm thinking, heck yeah, Adrian Wilson, right? ATA, this dude comes up to me. No, he thought I was messing with him. He thought I was Billy Currington. Like, golly, kind of took the wind out of my sails.
No, I wanted Adrian's autograph.
But
oh goodness,
Adrian and I say like two words to each other. He's like, "You want to get some food?" I'm like, "Sure." And then John and Frank and Ernie are like, "Where the hell are you going?" I'm like, "I'm going to get some food with my new buddy here." And
yeah,
it's
like the movie. Did we just become best friends? I mean, it's like that's the way it is. Just old friends.
And that is, I would say, your personality, your style, everything, like to a T. I mean, super easy to talk to, fun. I mean, you like to have fun. There's no two ways around that. Well, let's get a little bit of background on you and like what, your story as far as getting into hunting, that side of it. And then how did you get hooked up with all these guys that, kind of have, I don't know, thrown you into the spotlight? I mean, you live in Nashville, so the Billy Currington thing is an everyday occurrence, but
Well, yeah, I don't know. My story's a little bit different than a lot of the hunters out there. It seems like, the guys I'm hanging around with. I didn't start hunting officially. Like, I never hunted anything in my life till I was 28, 29 years old.
And how old
Yeah,
are you now?
I will be 45 this month,
Okay.
July 26. But yeah, I grew up like a lot of all the other hunters, playing sports and just being all boy. I mean, I was outside all the time doing those things. But I was hardcore into playing basketball, baseball, football type stuff. And then anyway, after high school, I went on. I played college basketball at Belmont University here in Nashville, and that was my thing. Like, I knew, I never had dreams or aspirations of being a superstar in the NBA or anything like that. I liked coaching. I liked the technical aspect and the planning and figuring out game plans and counteracting what the other team might be doing. And so, and I get that honestly. My dad was a high school and a college coach, so that's just that was my first love. And so after college, I actually did a stint as an assistant college coach for a year, and I planned on being a head college coach. I mean, that was my dream ever since I was a boy, and realized after that year, getting on the road and scouting sucks. I didn't like it. I mean, I'm kind of a homebody, and so I had the degree. I'm a high school teacher currently. Been doing that since '99, and I was a high school basketball coach for 18 years. So anyway, getting to the hunting part, one of my stops as a coach, I was the boys coach, and the girls coach was a big time turkey hunter, deer hunter, and he's like, "Why don't you go turkey hunting with me?" I'm like, "Okay, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'd love to go." So went with him, and I mean, I was just a tag along. I literally went out to Walmart that night and bought all my camo. And that next morning, we were on a ridge, and maybe this is exaggeration, but it felt like I was surrounded by like 30 gobblers, just hammering, and they were so close. My chest was erupting, and right then and there, I knew I need to do this. So got my license. And I finished out that season hunting probably, no joke, almost every day. And I killed my first bird the last day of season that year. And my buddy, he was pretty proud, just, getting a new guy into it and seeing how I took to it. Then the next step was like, all right, dude, we got bow season coming up here in a few months. We need to get you a bow. You want to shoot a deer? I was like, yep, I'll try that. Went out and bought a bow off Craigslist. Didn't know what I was doing. First day of season comes along. I'm on his property. He's got about 60 acres just outside of Nashville. And he said, all right, there's a climber over there. Well, I've never used a climber. It was one of the old steel Summit climbers. And I didn't have a harness, nothing. I just climbed up that tree, and does came in that morning. And I shot one at 20 yards. I actually thought I missed it. I called him. I was like, dude, I just missed. Because for me, I had been shooting, but just maybe a little over a month. And the arrow, I saw it come out the backside of the deer, but for me, it looked like it went under it, because I still saw it. And anyway, I called him and told him I missed. And then he's like, are you sure? I mean, asking me all these questions. And then it's like, well, wait a minute. I see something over there in the woods. He goes, what color is that? I said, it's white. He's like, that's its belly, you dummy. So, yeah, that's that. From there, I know I'm long-winded on that, but from there, I have been hardcore hooked ever since.
And so, like with your, you went and you had a this steel climber, right? And,
Yeah.
And from there, was it this your new hunting buddy, or did you kind of branch out on your own? I mean, it was funny. It was funny to hear me say that. To hear you say that you hated scouting and going on the road sucks, because like when you're deer hunting, it's like all you're doing is scout. You should be scouting all the time,
Well, I mean, the thing is that I think I love killing animals. I do. I love killing animals. I mean, that's part of it, right? And I'll say it that way. Like, that's part of it for me. Now, I respect them, but I mean, I'm there to kill. Now, on the side of that is, I'm in beautiful God's country, and if I don't even see an animal, I've had a good day. Now, obviously, it's a lot better if I'm seeing and killing animals, but I just love being outside, because when it's not season, like the part of me, I said scouting, like being on the road scouting when I was a basketball coach, like I have to go into homes and talk to parents and kind of kiss up a little bit. And that's not my nature. I don't like doing that, and just sleeping in hotel rooms and stuff like that, which is funny because I don't mind. I love a good deer camp. I'll sleep in a tent on the ground, no problem, and being out in nature. But that kind of goes back to where my background is. As a basketball coach, I said I liked mapping out and the strategy of trying to win this game and what we've got to do. Well, I've translated that kind of into my deer and turkey hunting now, as far as I'm scouting and making a plan to win this kill, so to speak. And like I realized, as a basketball coach, it was really hard for me because that's in the fall and goes through winter. So or late fall and then into winter till like February. So my deer hunting was pretty much a Friday night after a ball game. I'd go get my stuff ready and I'd hunt Saturday and Sunday. And I wasn't getting to hunt during the week. Now, early bow season, I could a little bit, but I was very limited because I'm sitting here running a basketball practice, and I started realizing when I'm in practice and all I'm thinking about is deer hunting, hey, I got a problem here. I'm not, I can't be an efficient coach or the best I can be, and that's kind of what I want to do. I want to be the best I could be, and I didn't want to cheat the boys. We didn't want to cheat myself, and so I got two young daughters, and they're growing up, and so I gave up coaching and haven't looked back. And I still have that fire in me to put a plan together. Like hunting season, we all count down the days to get there, right? But how much fun is it to go and scout and try to match wits with these animals that live there? I mean, I love it. I can't get enough of it.
Now, how did you come to that as a conclusion? Because I mean, your deer hunting story, I think it kind of starts out like a lot of even like the youth hunts and things like that, or when you first start with your dad or wherever, they put you in a stand. Did that guy say, this is why you're there, this is why those deer are coming through there? Or how did it evolve into this, the chess match? Because I think a lot of people get stalled, new hunters and even, guys that have been doing just the same thing over and over and over, they get stalled in that, well, if I go sit here, I'll be able to kill, a doe or a small deer.
That's a great question. I think that's where a lot of people fail early on, and a lot of learn later on from those mistakes. Like when I got into it, so my personality type is, if I like something, I'm going to be all in. That's just me. And like, so when I started, like I said, I started turkey hunting. I didn't think when bow season, that is by far my favorite now, without a question. And I have no problem. I'll go take a rifle out too. But bow season, being that close to the animal, is it for me. But to answer your question, I was my buddy that took me out. He put me in a tree, basically, or just said, "Hey, this is where my climber is." It was in an oak patch, and he was about, I don't know, 300 yards away on another piece of, or on the other side of the property. And so I was just out there on my own, and I knew that, okay, he said these deer are going to probably feed up here, because the oaks are falling pretty good. And so, okay, I learned that right off. I mean, I had some general knowledge, but I didn't really, the strategic part of their diets and what they're eating and how they travel and stuff like that. I was really, really ignorant for a few years on those types of things. Like I didn't have a hunting buddy at that time. Like he hunted some, but he just, he had kids and was busy. So I was doing it on my own. I was just getting out in the woods and having boots on the ground, learning from failed experiences. At that point in time, I was on a couple of websites. I was on Archery Talk constantly, or pulling up articles and just reading. And we have a local website. Well, it's TennesseeDeerHunters.com, and it's just a great. At the time, those are great places to get information, and guys were willing to help. And I would pass stuff along to one guy and ask them what they thought, or even buying stuff from the store. I learned what was good for me and what was bad for me, and it was trial and error. And it took me, golly, I mean, I'm still learning. It's been 18 years, maybe 17, 18 years I've been hunting, and I'm still learning. And that's the part I like. I know I don't know it all, and I never will. And I want to. I crave knowledge. I want to learn. I'll take and accept constructive criticism. I learn stuff from other hunters I like and what I don't like, and it's just always a learning experience for me. And just you're talking about the hunting public guys and Tethered and Catman, talking to those guys, just learning different strategies. And sometimes, it's not always what the general hunter thinks is going to happen. So you got to think outside the box. And that was really hard for me, because I'm thinking for the longest time, I was going, okay, this looks like a good spot, or I saw deer here. This is where I'm going to go climb my tree or put a ladder stand or whatever I was in at the time. And I wasn't using the knowledge of what the deer were actually doing. I was just going on sight and what I thought they might do, just because I thought it was a great place.
And so how did you get hooked up with all those guys? I mean, so it's interesting, I'm looking at it from the listener's perspective. So here you got this guy that's just, doesn't know shit about hunting. He's figuring it out on his own. And then all of a sudden I'm sure that the story isn't all of a sudden, but now you're to this point now where it's a regular occurrence for you to be around all these guys who are, very successful. With the Tethered guys, they're extremely innovative, and it's not something that you would buy off the shelf at Walmart. So how did you kind of get intertwined with all of that?
Well, so Catman, Jonathan, he lives 5-10 minutes down the road from me. We've been hunting together. So he's quite a bit younger. He's in his late 20s. So he was just getting started in the hunting world himself about the same time I was, so to speak. So I'd been doing it for a few years, but before I got a little bit more serious with it. And so we've hunted together for as long as I've known him. I met him at the local WMA, but he was on one of those, same as I was. He was on TennesseeDeerHunters.com, and we had a couple mutual friends. I had a couple other hunting buddies that kind of showed me the ropes of the WMA, because when I started, I was only hunting private lands, and I had some prime hunting lands there. And being a high school teacher and the basketball coach, I got to know a lot of people, and they knew I was hunting, and they'd invite me out and stuff like that. But I would change jobs to get a better coaching job. I was always chasing that. So I would lose some of those properties. So I started going to the local WMA. Anyway, that's where I met Jonathan, and he had his YouTube channel, and he's done a really good job, progressing that over the years. So from there, one of our local buddies, between Jonathan and I, he started saddle hunting out of a sit drag. And, we're going in some tough spots, and just the climbers were tough and all that stuff, just heavy. I mean, just, the general stuff you hear about from the transition to saddle hunting. Anyway, he's like, dude, you need to check this out. And so he told me about saddlehunter.com years ago. And so I got on there, and I got to know Greg Godfrey. One of the owners of Tethered. And Greg and I would ask him questions, and, he would ask me sometimes about, hunting lands here in Tennessee and stuff he was looking to come out and do. And I just got to where I became a really hardcore saddle guy. And I guess I've been doing that. That was probably about 7 years ago, maybe 6. And we just befriended each other. And next thing you know, Greg and Ernie start Tethered. Well, at that time, right after they got it started, Greg and I talked, and he asked me to be part of their staff. And that's how that got rolling there. And, I think we have a great group of core guys that everybody brings something different to the table that makes us very unique. It's funny, how you talked about when you and I first met, and we said like 2 words to each other, and then we're going out and having lunch. It's kind of the same thing with these guys. It's like we became an instant family. And so from there, just knowing those guys, and I know Catman was talking to Aaron Warbritton a little bit from the hunting public, asking questions and doing stuff. Well, next thing I know, we got invited to go on a hunt in Alabama with the hunting public, I guess 3 years ago. And it was Zach Fanball and Jake came down later, and Ted. And we just hit it off with those boys. I mean, we drove down there like 4 o'clock in the morning and woke them up in their. They were riding around in that whitetail trailer from Legendary Whitetails, and we did camp with them for, I don't know, 3 or 4 days, and that just started off a really good friendship. Not just as hunters, obviously that's what started it, but we've maintained a good relationship with those guys. And so when they're in the South, a lot of times they'll invite me or Jonathan or both out, or if they're coming through town and want a place to crash, they've come here a few times, or they need Wi-Fi to upload videos and stuff like that, and just making those connections. I'm a people person, and it's been pretty sweet meeting some really good dudes, not just hunters, but really good dudes. And on your podcast, one of the things that you're talking about is the camaraderie. I love it. I get to hang out with the guys, cut up, have fun, and I'm going out killing deer, or hopefully killing deer, and seeing new lands. It's a pretty sweet gig.
On that note, so what's your hunting style in Tennessee? And then you were up here for the Public Land Challenge hunting Michigan. And so how did that translate? Like, what was your thoughts when you got here?
So last year was my first time really hunting any good amount of time out of state of Tennessee. I've hunted out of the state, but not a ton. So I wasn't sure what to expect. I was we had the challenge was, the hunting public guys, Dan Infault, Joe Rentmeester, that crew, and then the tethered guys. And so we start looking at Onyx immediately when we found out where we were going to be. And, there's a lot of guys that are super awesome with maps and scouting. And that's one of the areas I'm getting better at. I'm not great. I'll just tell you, I can look at stuff and look at transitions and, elevation changes and all kinds of stuff. But I'm looking at that stuff. and I'm thinking, okay, these are some really good spots that I want to check out. And I will say one of the best things I've learned from the hunting public guys, the first time I met them down in Alabama, is they've been there for a few days. And those guys, they, when they go into places, they're usually there a lot of times, 6 to 10 days. And they spot and stalk a ton. And I say that to say they're just getting boots on the ground and they're mapping almost everything they see. So they're really tearing up and getting a lot of area covered. And then I'm sitting there watching them and learning from that, because a lot of times I'll go in, I might find some really, what I think is good sign. I'm thinking, I want to hunt. And I really prefer to be in a tree. I like having that side advantage. But I've had to kind of change some things. I think I've become a better hunter learning that. So anyway, so I had the idea, I'm going to Michigan and I'm going to cover a lot of ground, and I'm going to go look at the areas that I spotted on Onyx. And I get up there, man, and it's, I think you guys probably remember, it rained the whole time. It was nothing. Like a lot of the sign was hard to see, and so strategy had to change a little bit. Then I have to start thinking, okay, there's so much water. These deer are going to, in my mind, I think, going to move to higher ground, right? Because a lot of stuff was just so saturated, and so it took me a couple days of I walked around for 2 days. When it was not pouring down, and I found some really good signs, some super fresh stuff, and put a plan together. I found it one morning, put a plan together, went back in that evening. Dylan Hazen was filming for me, but he didn't get to go that evening. He had to do some editing, so I went back out and got in super early, and I found there was like multiple scrapes in this one area, and some good rubs, a lot of traffic, and it was in a wooded area, and it was transitioning to go to a private property a few 100 yards away that had corn on it. And anyway, I set up that night, and I had a really good deer come in, and it was almost at last light. I'm a lefty shooter. He was coming in on a string. I just happened to be in the right spot, and he gets 10 yards away from my tree and changes direction. Not direction. He's still headed past me, but he changes the other side of the tree, which is my weak side. So that really messed me up. And anyway, he walks by me, and he has a spike with him, and I can't move because that spike seems a little edgy. And anyway, that deer gets to 30 yards behind me and stops almost broadside, quartering away a little bit. I'm nervous. I'm shaking a little bit because I'm sitting here. I mean, come on. I'm a high school teacher. I'm a blue-collar dude, and I'm in this awesome camp with awesome dudes. And I'm sitting there thinking, Dan Info, he's probably in the next county with a big booner down, and Eberhardt's up there and all these guys. I mean, just, you guys, all the guys that people are watching on YouTube. And I'm sitting here with a really good shooter buck that I have. At first, I thought it was going to be a home run because that's the way he come in. But then I didn't. Then I started breaking nervous when I started thinking about that stuff. Anyway, I draw back on him, and I let one fly. The arrow deflects off something, and once I got down, there was a limb I never saw. I never expected to shoot behind me at that point because they were headed. That was the direction of the fields, and I just didn't. There's no reason in my mind I could think that they'd be coming from that way. Anyway, it deflects off a limb. The arrow hits the deer in the front shoulder, skims it. The deer, I mean, it was just a brush. Didn't harm the deer, nothing. The deer kind of stops because he was fixing to walk. He stops, and he just walks away. So I was obviously devastated. I don't like missing. Nobody does. But the fact that I was there and I could have taken that deer, that would have been pretty cool. But cool part of the story is this. I had to leave I went back out there the next morning and moved to where I thought they might be coming back in from the fields. I didn't want to be in that same spot. I went more closer to bedding, and I never saw the deer. They didn't come in the way I thought they would. Anyway, I met a local guy a day or two earlier. I had a tethered sticker on my truck. He had texted a buddy that said, hey, this is where the hunting challenge is. I see one of the tethered guys' trucks. Well, he waited on me. We get to talking, and he had just started hunting that area that year. And anyway, I gave him the information that I had on that buck and all the sign I had. And about 5 days later, he sends me a picture of that deer with his face in it, where he put it on the ground. So I was pretty stoked about being able to potentially help another hunter out.
That's really cool. Generally doesn't happen, right? But
yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, the guy's name is Corey. I didn't know him. Like I said, we had just met. We're friends on social media now and stuff, and but it's really cool. Like, I wasn't ever going to come back there to kill that buck. I knew that. And I like, if I have some information, I don't mind helping people out. Now, obviously, I'm not going to give away something that I'm going after to some random Joe. But I think that's what hunting, for me personally, is about. I want to, especially my friends, I don't hold stuff in or back, especially people I trust. Friends are a lot harder to come by than shooting a deer. And so, I don't know. Not that this guy and I are great friends now. He's a good dude. But it's a feel-good story. I was really stoked to see that he got that deer.
Now, with that, one of the things from your story that is the quintessential, somebody could be listening to this and be like completely validated and saying, see, that's why I'll never saddle hunt, because I can't get that shot. The bridge gets in your way, you get messed up, you got to shoot your offside
yeah, but he got the
whatever.
shot. He just hit a limb.
Yeah, but you're saying that's kind of like one of the things that frazzled you or whatever. Like, what do you say to that guy?
I think the same thing could happen in a tree stand. If you're wearing your harness and you've got your tether hanging down, the same thing could happen. That was my fault, totally. I was not, and I learned from it, I was not prepared to shoot behind me. I was not, because the fields were behind me. That's the direction they were going to travel. So anything I thought I would shoot would be, square in front of me or to my right or immediate left. And I'd already practiced. I'd had all my ranges down. And, that deer, I had to watch it walk right by me, and I could not move because of that spike. And, a lot of it, if you don't get nervous at all when there's animals around that you're trying to kill, I don't know that I'd want to do it anymore. That's part of the rush. And I just fumbled it up. It was my fault. No excuse. I broke nervous. I wasn't prepared and the right way. And the limb that I hit, like I said, light was fading. It was still shooting light, but when you guys know what it's like, when you're in a wooded area, it gets darker faster. There's all kinds of light outside of the woods there down actually, I saw him working straight set away before he came into the woods. And I didn't see the limb. I could see the buck, and it wasn't even a big one. It was just a little thing it was just stupid on my part not being prepared.
Yeah, as it gets dark, the shooting lanes open up. I'm like, man, that's a good shooting lane right there, right there, right there. And then the daylight's like, oh, man, I would have never got an arrow through that.
Yeah, we've all seen the memes where, you see this huge buck right at right before daylight, and then when the daylight hits, it's just a tree, and that's kind of what it's like, once the sun, it changes some things. So I know I promise you this, anytime I went into the woods after that, especially in a new area, I was totally checking out every angle. And that's the thing about being a saddle hunter. I can move all the way around the tree, and I love that. Love that I can do that. And I'm totally not anti stands at all. I think it's to each their own, and what everybody's going to make them a better hunter, more enjoyable. For me, it's the saddle, and I think it makes me a better hunter because I'm more versatile by far in the tree and even walking into the tree.
Oh, absolutely. My switch over, and with Adam too, the saddle's definitely made a huge difference.
Yeah, I mean, it's just opened up so many more avenues for me as a hunter. I think it's helped make me a better hunter. It's allowed me to, those days that are here in the South. I mean, you guys have them there too, but when it's hot and humid, and you're thinking, "Golly, I don't want to go in any further. I'm just gonna, I'm sweating and in this climber." I'm able to push further easily in that saddle because I'm just wearing that joker in, and I've got a backpack on with my climbing method, whatever I'm using, and the only thing I'm holding is my bow.
Right. What is your what do you normally use for your climbing method? Like when obviously on public land, you probably can't use like spikes or screwy steps, but
so I'm a stick guy right now. I love spurs, but obviously I'm limited to private land with spurs. I love the fact that with spurs, I feel like a daggum squirrel. I can just shimmy up the tree and be right there and be ready. But I didn't use those at all last year because all I did last year was public land. So, I'm 6'5". I've got a good step. I like a shorter stick. Right now, I'm using some 17-inch leverage sticks that they don't make leverage anymore. It's basically it's almost like a hawk helium at 17 inches, and I have a one-step movable aider. So I've got 3 sticks. And a one-step movable aider that I take up with me. And with my reach and length, I can get up almost as high as I need to. Like I prefer to be high, but at the same time, early season when there's a lot of growth, I might only go 12, 15 foot.
Right.
Just because that's what that tree or that area I'm in, that's what that calls for. If I go up too any higher, I couldn't see, but I prefer to be as high as I could.
Right. Yeah. And early fall, you're getting that canopy. You get up in it, and they can't see you, but you can't see them unless they're right underneath you.
Well, and that's the thing too. A lot of guys, they talk about getting high, like, I don't know. I hear people saying, "Oh, you're only at 12 foot or 15." It's different every time. It depends on, like you just said, the canopy.
Right.
And some people, but also you have to have a good background.
Right.
I don't want to be wide open. And some people think, well, if you're just high, you can hide that. But yeah, you can hide it to some deer. But I think, some deer, I mean, we all seen it. Deer will look up in a tree. I don't know why. Well, they do, So I want a good backdrop. Because if you move, they're going to get sketched out and you might blow it. So I would prefer to have the best chance of having some kind of backdrop of something. So I'm broken up.
So outside of a saddle, outside of, the forums, being, adult onset hunter, what do you think was the most influential to your success? What do you think was it just your drive to be successful and you said, okay, well, I want to figure this out? Or how did you evolve as a hunter on your own? What were some of the big influences without having the family side of it, or the real good hunting buddy to start?
I love being out in nature in general. Like if I'm not hunting or fishing or something like that, I'm usually hiking or something. And so boots on the ground for me, and covering as much area as I could. I was doing it to stay in shape outside of season too, and then learning from my previous mistakes taught me a lot. It's kind of like I didn't know it was a mistake at the time, but then as I become a better hunter and just my experience of being in the woods and getting to know nature a little bit better and the animals I'm hunting, it's kind of like an aha moment. And you're like, oh my gosh, if I would have done this, and then putting that into practice and it paying off for me. Now, obviously, it doesn't always happen the way I want it to, but I found out that my percentages shot up drastically when I started putting some of the things that I was learning about, the lay of the land, buck bedding, what their browse is, things of that nature. And then, I know you said outside of forums, but listening to podcasts, listen to these guys, I spent this weekend around John Eberhart, and that guy has a wealth of knowledge, as you guys know, because you guys, he's doing podcasts with you guys, and I think that's it. And that it's nothing fancy. Learning from my mistakes and making sure I was out in the woods.
Right.
A lot of it's trial and error, and then start putting some of the stuff I learned into practice, and my statistics jumped substantially.
I think, like, with all the with all the people we've talked to on our podcast, it's a common theme. You guys all get out there, put your time in, basically. Learn from your mistakes. And I think a lot of people, like these young kids, are going out and they're trying to, it's like trying to win the lotto. They want it to come easy without putting in the work. Or, they're trying to find the answer that's like, okay, how am I going to become a better hunter? Tell me what to do. Well, get out there and get boots on the ground and figure it out.
And yeah, you nailed it. And along with that, and I think Adam said it a while ago, he was asking about the drive. You have to have a drive to want to be better, to hone your craft and be the best you can be. Sure, an average person can go out and hunt a few times, and they might kill a 200-inch deer. It's happened before. I've never seen a 200-inch deer in the wild myself, but I've shot some pretty decent deer over the years now, and I've shot enough now that I'm got some confidence in myself. It's not just luck. Yeah, some of them were for sure, but some of them were. I put a plan together. I put the effort and sweat equity into it, and it's paid off.
Right.
Well, I think that's what I'm trying to do, like, personally, is that I just want to get, like, I feel like it's like that Leonardo DiCaprio meme, like, those are rookie numbers. You need to get your numbers up. Like, I've killed some deer, but, like, I want to kill more deer like that. And right. I'm not at the point where I'm good enough to be discriminating against the deer that I'm killing. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, to a point. But I have, like, simple goals. Like, I would like to have a target animal that I've located or whatever, and then try and figure that out. Or have a plan. Like, they go hand in hand, but like I said last year, and like with all the rain, it didn't happen at all because the hunting, we
changed everything.
Well, we weren't here for a specific amount of time. Like, I'll just wait out the rain. I'm not forced to go out and hunt and that shit,
Right.
So, but I would like to kill one like in the first couple days of the season, to go out and say, okay, this is what's going to happen. This is what the pattern is, or this is where I've seen them, and and this is where I need to be to kind of validate that, like you said, to build up that confidence. Because, like I say, I have confidence that I can go out and kill a deer. I mean, right. I don't doubt that. And, you know, sometimes, like what you were talking about with the nerves is like, as soon as you mess one up, then it's like, whoa, fuck, I just fucked one up. Like, I'm going to fuck this one up. It's going to go, everything's going to go bad. Like, and you got to kill deer to get outside of that, you know? You have to, right the ship, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, and like anything, you know, you've got to build up confidence. You got to have confidence in yourself, and not just and I don't mean arrogance. I mean just confidence in what you're doing, and but that's going to be backed up if you've put your time in, and you are trying to get out there and learn things. I think it's going to come. I mean, it's just statistically. I mean, putting your time into anything. And going through the trial and error and stuff like that, you're going to be better in some form or fashion. Like my nemesis, like as you're talking about, like early season, I've worked my tail off for that. You know, everybody's excited for that first hunting day, right? And for me, the last few years, I've had some bucks that I thought I had them patterned really good, and I have not been able to get those deer. Now, I'm sitting here watching them on camera, or I'm watching them in fields in the evenings, and I'm putting these plans together. Now, I've been really close. I've seen them, but they've come down a different path. I don't know why, but I felt like I had the wind, the thermals, all that stuff, and it just so happens it just has not worked out yet for that very early season kill. I've shot does early season, but I've not killed that early season buck, and that right now is kind of my drive this year. Like I'm really, really focused. I feel like I have been, but I feel like this year, like I've got a confidence that I'm going to make this happen. I'm trying to do the right things. I've got some cameras out. I've learned the land I'm hunting even better, and maybe some exit routes and some things that. Like, it's funny, you know, you hear guys are like, you know, I was in the right spot. And it's just like the deer sometimes, they just know something's different. I can't explain it, and they just change the next day what they've been doing. And, you know, maybe it's me. Maybe I boogered something up that I just don't know. Maybe on an entry or something. But I'm with you. I want to get that early season, the first week type of deer. If I can get that pattern, you know, sometimes it's just not in the cards, but that's really kind of my goal. And if I don't get it, I didn't fail. I look at it as a learning experience, because I'm always learning something, you know.
And what about you, John? Where do you stand in all of that? Like, as far as like your goals, or like how you view yourself going into the season with like the confidence and the, you know, because I mean, obviously I talk a lot more on here, but I'm like always saying like I'm a world's worst deer hunter, like, and I want to be better, and it's like you're very analytical and like all this stuff. So,
right. And I mean, I want to be better too. Obviously, it's not like I go out. I mean, the last few years I've been obviously trying to get my son a deer, so that's been the focus. But then this year now we're going back. You know, we got the hunts, and I'm going to Montana. You're going out to Colorado, and I got 3 tags to fill in Montana. So that's been my focus lately. I've been on, you know, base map and figuring that shit out. But I do want to get out, and, you know, it's just been so damn hot, and I mean, and everything has just been kind of crazy lately with all the other bullshit going on. But I do need to get out, and I've said this before, get out and scout.
So what when you guys go to those other states, what will be your strategy? Like, is that a new ground to you? I'm assuming. Are you going to set up on some sign when you see it? You're going to get, you know, you're going to do the boots on the ground thing and try and cover a lot? What are you thinking? So
for me, I'm going to out to Bozeman, and I have a buddy that lives in Bozeman, and so he's been, you know, he elk hunts, so he's already got some spots, and I've been looking on Onyx and stuff, or base map for that. But I have a whitetail mule deer tag, and then I have an antelope tag. So I'm going to hunt my way out. I'm planning on trying to kill an antelope on the way out there in, eastern Montana, where, they're more, it's kind of the open area, flat. And so that's my plan, like just boots on the ground, get out there. I mean, obviously it's a little different with antelope because you're just driving and, spotting them and then trying to set up a plan.
Right.
And then, but the whitetail, now my buddy Eddie, he doesn't do anything with whitetail, but he does have, he lives right near a big river bottom. And when I was out there last time there's like 130-inch bucks everywhere. They're all out in the fields, and they basically, they call them goats out there, they're a pest. But
so, sorry to interrupt. Now, will you be filming these? Do you on those hunts do you film a lot or?
Well, in the past few years, I've been doing all like the self filming. Last year was the first deer I shot. I thought on film, and I was on the wrong animal, but. Now I'll be using Tacticam on my bow, but I'm going out by myself. As I head out, I'll be alone. So it's going to be self-film. It'll be interesting with the antelope, but at least I'll have the Tacticam on the bow. And then for the whitetail, I'll have my regular setup with the camera arm. I'm bringing the saddle, and I plan on getting down into the, the river bottoms. And hopefully, anyway.
I was curious because Adam and I've talked a few times about, filming, and I don't film, and we've talked a little bit about that. I just like to hear what everybody's kind of doing, and I think it's a personal thing, I guess. I think it's cool.
It definitely makes it's way easier not filming,
Oh yeah.
But now, actually, we've heard this from several people, that we've talked to. Adam's cousin that has a show and everything, and he's like, it feels funny not having the camera, and we've kind of made a pact, or it's like we got to hold ourselves accountable for it, since we tell our listeners we're going to film this and film that, and then if we don't, it's like, well, I'm just lying, but
and that's why I should I said it on the show last year, like I don't want to shoot a little buck. But then that was the first deer that came in on camera, and I had like this internal struggle of like, not that I like, it was just like you want to let them grow to be bigger animals, But like I said, I'm not at the point where like I should really be like, well, that's not, I've shot 100 of those. Like, it's not that way. And, I felt like I was being hypocritical.
You're breaking the ice for the camera.
Yeah, but if I didn't shoot that animal, I tell John, and when he doesn't shoot deer or this or that, like, what are you doing? You carried all this stuff out there, who are you trying to please, whatever. And it's it's a real personal thing, if you don't want to shoot the animal because it's not, whatever, that's cool. I get it. If you want to kill him, kill him. If you don't. But I keep saying, hey, we're bringing all this stuff out there. We got to kill something on video. And, like, here's opportunity. And it was like, well, one more step and you're dead. Like, and it was awesome. But it did. It broke the ice. And then we killed some turkeys on camera. And, like, we had I think that's where it's really starting to, get the hooks in these guys. Because, like John said, he was pissed when we went, we took too much time to go film his turkey because he's like, we're waiting too long, blah 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 blah. But we were all so like mesmerized just watching all the videos of this turkey getting killed, that Frank and Ernie just did. Like, it was like to be able to share that in, it's one thing. Granted, most people don't have like a forum, a podcast, something where you can just, you get to interact with all these people and say, get to talk about it, and it's forever memorialized in the ether, But now we've got it on video,
right? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I think it's cool. It's definitely like I don't self film, I was joking with Adam. If anybody wants to come film me, have at it. That's fine. I would like to have stuff on video. I would, but when it comes down to me, like I don't want to carry the extra gear in. I don't know if it's lazy or whatever. But my biggest thing for me is I don't do it is because I don't want to be faced with that decision when I'm up there. And if I get a shooter deer coming in, again, I want to be the best that I can be. I don't want to sit there and worry if I've got the camera because I'll be kicking myself or because I'm going to kill the deer. If it comes in and I'm thinking I want to kill the deer, I'm not worried about getting it on film at that point. I don't want to be faced with that dilemma of making sure my camera angle is right and then because I can't multitask. I can't. I'm total guy there. I'm terrible. And I'm sitting there thinking, if I'm thinking, I want to be focused on the animal. That's just, and kudos to the guys that do it. I think it's awesome. And I'm envious. I just don't think it's for me. Now the Tacticam is definitely an option. I haven't ever used one. I've never self-filmed anything, but I think that's a really cool looking tool to, if you have it on your bow, or some guys will put it on their head or with the strap and whatnot, and kind of look that direction and go. That might be in my future, something like that. But as far as having the camera arm and all this stuff, I just don't see that happening.
Well, a couple things. One, like when you talk about having to make that decision, like I really kick myself, and I have had like a come to Jesus moment about like filming, and like I said, like I'm not in the position really to be like selecting which deer I'm going to kill, And
Right.
So when I was in Missouri last year, I got up in the tree and didn't have my camera set up, but I had my bow up in the tree because my buddy had got screwed up the day before where he had all of his stuff, lowered his bow back down to move his stand, and 2 shooter bucks walked right underneath him at like 10 feet. And his bow was laying on the ground. So the next morning, I bring my bow up, hang it up, and my pack is still on I got my pack, and I was just getting the camera and everything out. And here comes a buck. And he was like, I don't know, 100-inch buck, 110-inch buck, something like that, which I've never killed an 8-point. I've killed some 10 points, and I've killed like every other smaller buck under the sun. But, this is a nice buck. We're there to shoot. And I said, well, if I would have had the camera, I would have shot him on camera, but I didn't have the camera. And it's like, well, it shouldn't matter, like one way or the other. You either would have shot him or you wouldn't. And I like have to like not rationalize that. Like it needs to get, if you want to kill him, just kill him or don't. Kind of like what I said. But on the other side of that is, so for the filming aspect of it, do your daughters hunt at all, or do they show any interest in it? And if they do, how do you feel about filming them for those memories?
So my oldest, she has shot 1 deer and 1 tom. She got a really solid, a great first buck. She got a 9-pointer 2 years ago, out of a ground blind, and I really, it'd be nice to have that on camera. I filmed after the fact. She shoots the deer, it ran in the woods, and we tracked it in there, and seeing her expression and all that. I just did that from the iPhone, and the same thing with the turkey hunt. She shot a good tom, and I've got, I don't know, you talk about social media. My biggest thing, I guess, is Instagram, and I put my memories on there. Like everything I put on there is associated with my kids or my outdoors life, basically, and that's kind of like my cloud, if you would. I guess I store it all on there, and I can go back and look at it, and it's always after the shot type stuff, obviously. Her expression, like, after both kills, like is awesome, and I do have those memories. I guess I'm right there, I'm right there with her. I'm more excited than she is, and I'm just a proud dad. And she's 10 now. I guess she was 8 or 9, I'd say, when she did that. But I don't know if I would have been able to do it. I was so nervous anyway. I don't know if I could have filmed her if I wanted to in that moment for her.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that. I was filming for my wife this year, and we didn't get any toms come in, just called in some hens and stuff, and it was, I don't know, I feel like now, having had the camera so much, it's like old hat, but I'm just as excited for her, telling her like what's going to happen and stuff. And this year, I think my daughter, who's 4, is going to hunt on the youth hunt, and I'm going to be gone. So my wife and her friend are going to take her out, and her friend's killed all sorts. I mean, the property that they're going to be hunting on has what they claim to be a 200. I mean, a very close to 200.
If your 4-year-old daughter shoots a 200,
I know
you're going to be coming back to town really quickly, Adam.
I'm going to be in Colorado elk hunting, so it's one of those things. And it's my buddy has all this farmland that he gets to hunt, and it's right up by where John hunts on some public, and he's kind of put me on to where we need to be hunting in there.
Yeah.
So we need to take some walks, because there's some legit big bucks. I mean, and this guy's house is just full of, I mean, and his wife's killed a bunch of them and whatnot. But I had to have like a real conversation with him, because I'm like, dude, this is like the opposite of like kind of what I say and like what I believe in. Like, so, is she just hunting big bucks? And he's like, no, she can shoot whatever she wants to, except for does. Like, no does. He said that, I want the does there to keep those bucks around on the property for later in the year. But he's like, if she wants to shoot a forkhorn, she can shoot a forkhorn, but there's a good opportunity to shoot a damn nice buck or a giant, So it's just a matter of how long she wants to wait. So,
right.
But that's one of the things when I was talking about like where your buddy put you in the stand and like the youth hunt and stuff like that, is there's so many guys where the kid, the dad does all the work and the kid pulls the trigger.
Right.
And they say, well, you can't shoot that one. You can't shoot that one. You can't shoot that one. This one's coming out. That one's Eddie. That one's Ted. That one's Bill. Hook Nose is coming out. He always comes. Yeah. And I don't like that.
Well, Catman 2 years ago, we had that situation. He'd been after a big 12-pointer, and he'd asked me to come to the spot with him. And he was close by, I don't know, maybe 100, 150 yards away. And I knew he'd been after that deer. And I was like, well, look, dude. No, he says, look, dude, if that deer comes in, I want you to shoot him. I kind of felt like I couldn't, like you've been after this deer for a couple of years, bro. I don't think I could do it. And he's like, look, I'm going to be mad at you if you don't. I haven't been able to. He had a couple experiences with it. Anyway, needless to say, I thought that was cool. Like I feel like that's what I would say. If I'm bringing you with me to put you in an area that I know that there's a deer, you better shoot that deer. I ended up not shooting that deer. I got a new one that he hadn't seen or didn't have on camera. It was definitely right at the rut, and got a good 10-pointer. But he was. When I told him I shot one, the first thing he asked me was it the Big 12? I told him no. But I like I said earlier, friends are a lot harder to come by. I'm not going to lose friends over an animal. So I thought that was cool.
Well, yeah, and what I was saying is I wanted to make sure that he wasn't saying, we've got this buck picked out for her so she can't shoot these little ones. Because was,
Gotcha.
Where like, nope, we're waiting on this one. And then it's like, well, that makes every time you go hunting, you expect to shoot
a 200
the Big 12,
Right.
Like, how come nobody has
sure.
a deer picked out for me in this spot, Dad? Like,
Right.
It doesn't work that way, honey. You know.
They got the fork horn coming in. Not shoot that one.
But I mean,
not unless you're in some high fence situations, right?
Right.
that ain't us.
No.
We'd be with Uncle Frank. He'd be more likely to be cutting a hole in the high fence and then sitting by that.
Oh man, that's funny.
So, what do you got on deck for this year, as far as hunts coming up and things?
All right, so starting, let's see, 2 or 3 years ago, in the state of Tennessee, typically bow season starts the last weekend of September. But 2 or 3 years ago, they implemented a 2-day velvet hunt in August. We've never had the opportunity to shoot a velvet deer. I still haven't shot one, but so that's going to be my first hunt. Tethered's going to send a cameraman down for the Tennessee velvet hunt. So I will have a cameraman on that one. And I've got it's got to be private land. It's private land only for bow. Now we have a portion of West Tennessee that has a CWD, and they were allowing people to go hunt public land with a rifle there, or maybe it's a muzzle loader. I don't remember which, but I think it's a rifle. But just to help take some of those deer out that have that. But so anyway, I'm going to be here locally. I'm going to be about an hour outside of Nashville on some private land. It's about 500 acres. Running some cameras now. Have had some. I've never hunted, or I've turkey hunted there. I've not deer hunted it, but I have had some cameras out there since last year, and there's about 4 out there that are really nice, and there's one just really good stud. So they are. There is some. I don't know if it's beans this year or corn. I don't remember what the because he changes it up. I think it's corn though, if I remember correctly. But I'm going to have them coming into the crops there. So that's going to be my first hunt. Then obviously I'm going to be hunting some Tennessee for the opener. I'm looking to go to Kentucky early season. I haven't solidified. I'm going to go for sure. I just don't know if I'm going to go alone, or last year I went with Jared Schaefer and Parker McDonald, and that was fun. And then in October, Jason Red, Timber Ninja, he is in Asheville, North Carolina. Taylor Chamberlain and I are going to meet up and do a black bear hunt with him, and we'll have whitetail tags as well. So we're going to make a 4 or 5 day hunt there, which I'm really excited about. I've never ever hunted black bear. He has, I think he has 150 acres that butts up next to a bear sanctuary. So, no hunters can go in there. So it's going to be a bait situation, which will be new for me too. I've never hunted over bait. So I'm pretty stoked about that. The fact that I could, and I've been out to Jason's place, and he's in the mountains there, the Smoky Mountains there in Asheville, and it's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So that'll be a different hunt for me. And then I am looking at so last year, I went down to Mississippi with the hunting public guys, and I killed a really, really good swamp buck there in the first or second week of January, because they're still rutting there. So I'm looking up at Ernie Power and I, not sure who else, but we're going to try and go back down there. And then maybe a possible Alabama hunt as well. So still working on a couple of those, but it's going to be a full season for sure, And then I do a Tennessee hunt where I bring in some guys, and we do a big deer camp and have a big time doing that. So again, for me, I love the hunt. I mean, that's what we're talking about this. That's why you guys have a podcast. We love it. But, deer camp is the best for me. Just the camaraderie of the guys, and just telling stories and tall tales and the whole shebang. So I'm looking super forward to it.
Cool deal. So what bow are you shooting right now? What's your setup?
So I am shooting an E32, an Elite 32, and I also have an Elite Synergy. I am in the process of ordering the new Matthews VXR.
Okay.
I had elbow surgery back in February, so I haven't even been able to draw back till actually 2 weeks ago. So I shot a lot this weekend. We were all in Minnesota at Ernie Power's place, and he had a little target set up in the backyard, and we had little competitions and had a blast doing that. Elbow's good. So felt good to shoot again. And anyway, I got to shoot and draw back the VXR and love that thing. And so that's going to be my hunting bow for the season. I'll keep the Elites. I like them. I've shot them both for, I guess, 3 years now. No issues there, but I really, really enjoyed the VXR. So that's the way I'm going to go.
Yeah, it's a great shooting bow. I was up in the air for me between that one and the PSE, but I had to go with the knock on.
I couldn't hear you, John. Say again.
I said that is a great shooting bow, and it was up in the air for me. It was between that and the PSE, but I had to go with the knock on bow. So,
gotcha. Yeah, I saw the VXR for the first time at the ATA, and it was intriguing. I'm gonna go. I pulled back the 28-inch and then the 31.5, and I think they're both. I don't think you can go wrong with either one, but I'm gonna go with the 31.5. Actually, I was trying to figure. I just got to figure the hardest part. I got to figure out my color scheme. How about that?
Right. What arrows are you shooting?
I haven't got into the heavier arrow yet. I think I will.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the type, I don't just jump in until I kind of play around with it a little bit. And since I had my elbow surgery and I haven't been able to shoot the way I've wanted to, I'd planned on getting into it this year, but I don't think time's going to allow it. I just got so much other stuff going on that it's probably going to be another year. And I'll wait till after season next year, and I'm going to start. Right now, I am shooting some Carbon Express Mayhem Hunters is what I have.
Okay.
And I'm using NAP Killzone broadheads. Everybody seems to be going with the heavier, and I'm thinking when I toy around with it, I think I'm going to do an in between. I'm going to go middle of the road and start there and see if I like it. And if it works for me, I'll make the switch. If not, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. It's been working for me so far. It's kind of one of those things for me. If it ain't broke, I'm not trying to fix it, but I'm always looking to better myself. So if it's better and I feel like it's better and I'm confident with it, yeah, I'll do it.
Right. I mean, the thing is, you're 6'5", so you're probably shooting at least a 31-inch draw length, right?
Yep.
Right. So that's the same. I'm 6'3", and I'm shooting a 31-inch draw length and a 70-pound bow. I build an arrow, and it's easily 550 grains. So it's like in the middle of the road for me, and so you could easily do something like that, and you're still getting, the heavy arrow punch, but it's not quite, like if you like to go and shoot long distance, it'll,
Yeah, and that's so Zach Fehrenbaugh and I talked about that a lot in Michigan at the Public Land Challenge, and he's really sold me into to getting into it. So, like I said, just haven't been able to with the elbow surgery, but I think that's going to be the way to go. I mean, it just makes sense all the way around. I just haven't done it, so I can't say, yep, I'm going to do it. I just for sure, but I think that'll probably be the way to go.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, awesome, man. We could talk all night. I could talk to you all the time. Hell, I do on a daily basis almost now.
We've only been on here about 15, 20 minutes.
Man, so you going to make it up to Michigan this year then?
Dude, if time allows it, I would love to. I would love to, because I'm going to tell you, that tag that I had to eat, I still got it. I saved it. It's in my truck, and I see it almost every day. And it's ammunition for me. Like I think about it all the time. It's that blue tag that I bought at 3:00 in the morning at Walmart on my way to the Public Land Challenge, and I'm going to hold on to that till I get back up to Michigan and fill one.
Well, I was, because of all this COVID stuff and a lot of, like, my plans have changed dramatically. Like, I'm trying to figure out my dates for hunting. Like, before I ate up a lot of time, and with elk hunting and things like that. But this year, a lot of the vacations and the onesie-twosie day things have all petered off. So I've got a bunch of, I'm trying to allocate my deer hunting time and pick, like, when and where I'm going to go with that. So
yeah, me too.
Yeah, John.
Yeah, I still don't know what's going on with schools here locally. Me being a school teacher, we're supposed to start back in August. I got to, a lot depends on that, because that's what pays my bills. If I could get up and go to Michigan and hunt, I'd do it in a heartbeat. That's it's a sad time in the country with everything going on right now, but it's at the same time, a lot of people is like asking how it's affected me. I'm still out in the woods. Matter of fact, I was fishing. I fished almost all spring. I had more time to get out there and do that, and I've had a blast. So it really hasn't affected. Now, I don't know what's coming here in the future, but I don't know it's going to bother me so much as far as hunting. Matter of fact, I think it's pushing more people to the woods,
Right.
It might affect me that way adversely, like having more pressure from other people.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think, that's one of the things we talked about with going out west with, tag sales and, states closing down, things like that. Now it's like, well, is everybody going to be pushed to Colorado and maybe Montana if they put in for their draw? John bought his tag already. He has it because...
Well, Montana, you have to. You put in for your draw, and you pay for it up front. And if you don't draw, then you get your money back. So it's you got it.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's it. That once you get your tag, you got it, and it's paid for. And so I'm in. But where, like Adam, those guys still have to buy their tags.
The tags go on sale August 6th at 9 a.m. So, that's where I'm going to be online.
Yeah, and that's ignorance on my part. I didn't even think about the aspects of. I forgot that some of the states are closing down outside of the state sales on their tags. So that would it would stink, because it would ruin some of my plans. But I still got my tag here in Tennessee, so I will make sure I put in. I mean, I would. And that's the thing. I hunted so many states last year. I didn't hunt my home state as well as I could, because I was gone almost like every other weekend, going somewhere different. And it affected me. Early season really affected me. And that's the thing. Like, I hunted the opening. I hunted the velvet hunt, and then I hunted like the first weekend here in Tennessee. Then after that, I was in Michigan at the Public Land Challenge, or I was in Kentucky or wherever. And then by the time I come back, the patterns were starting to change, and I kind of got left behind. I didn't kill. I ended up limiting out here in Tennessee last year, but my first, I drew back and shot at that deer in Michigan, and that was the only shot I took till I killed a buck on Thanksgiving Day, and then like a week later, I killed another one, and then I killed the one in Mississippi. Now I shot does and whatnot, but I'm just talking about going after decent bucks. It was hard for me because I was not spending the time here, and I run cameras, but once season starts, especially on public land, I don't keep them out because they tend to disappear. So I didn't want to do that, or even tip another hunter off, because usually I'm putting cameras where I have good sign of good deer, and I didn't want to tip anybody off that there might be something else in there.
Right.
Well, all right, man. I think we're going to wrap this one up for this evening, and we will definitely be in touch. I'll be looking forward to getting you up here. You can teach from Skype or Zoom, right?
Well, that's the thing. I taught 2 online classes last year, so yeah, I definitely can do that for sure. And I would, matter of fact, I did a Zoom conference call with my principal this spring. I was actually turkey hunting, and she called me out. And she was laughing. She's like, Adrian, are you hunting? I was like, yep. I'm sitting there in the middle of the woods with a mouth call in my mouth. I'd just been calling turkeys. I forgot, oh, shoot, I got to jump on this Zoom call. So, yeah, good stuff.
All right.
All right, man. So where can people follow along with all of your after the kill photos?
Man, I'm on Instagram. It's Big A Sports, and I've got a Facebook page. I post a little on there, but not a lot. So that's Instagram's kind of my jam. So follow along there. It's public, so give me a follow, and I'll try and follow you back.
Man, I couldn't think of a better guy, in the space to talk to. I mean, there's a reason that you're plugged in with all of these guys, and that you keep, like I said, you just kind of keep, like when they see Billy Currington in the background, that's why. Why does Madison Baumgardner with the hunting
Matty
public?
B.
That's why. So
Matty B, yeah, it's funny. Being in Nashville, I've never seen Billy Currington in my life, but I have got that a time or two, and obviously John is starstruck with Billy for some reason and pushing it over on me now, but that's okay. John's a good old fella.
And he actually asked to take a picture with you when we were at the bar at ATA. I remember that. He's like, I got to send this to my wife.
Oh,
because
my wife loves Billy Currington. So I'm like,
do you have that?
The photo?
Do I have the photo?
I don't know.
I'm not sure if I do or not, but yeah. And I was like,
send it to me.
because that was like, I got to take a picture with him and send it, and she's gonna freak out like, John's hanging out with Billy Currington. What the hell?
Yeah. If he doesn't have it, I'm sure his wife still has it.
Right.
She got that in the hidden photos.
Right. The private.
Oh, good stuff. Good stuff.
All right,
boys.
man.
I've enjoyed it. I appreciate you having me on, and we could sit, like I said, you said it. We can sit here and talk all night, and I have no issue doing it. So, thank you very much.
Yep, and we've got a great plan for the next one, John. We were hatching it right before we started this, so I can't wait to have Adrian out again after the season. We'll wrap up, and the plan that we have in place is going to be amazing.
Oh, it's a humdinger. It's good stuff.
All right, dude.
All right.
Shut up and sit down.